Seems like Mom really likes the new house. Starting today, we'll be living with my parents, Lonnie exclaimed. What? If you don't want to live together, then leave, Mother-in-law retorted. I couldn't grasp what they were talking about. I'm Elaine, 27 years old, a housewife and currently pregnant. Lonnie, my husband, is 30. He works at a company. With our baby on the way, we thought, with a baby, there'll be crying at night. Instead of a cramped apartment, we want a spacious place to raise our child. So we decided to build a new house on father-in-law's land. Now, with a new house comes meetings with the architectural designer. I was thrilled. I want a kitchen this color. I dream of a bathroom like this. Everyone gets excited thinking about their ideal designs and functionalities. A baby and a new house. It felt too good to be true. But something felt off. Every time we had a meeting, Mother-in-law was always there. Why is Mother-in-law always joining us? When I asked Lonnie, he said, Mom renovated her house 3 years ago. It's good to get advice from someone experienced. During one meeting, Mother-in-law insisted, we need an oratory, a big space for our statue of the Virgin Mary and an altar. Wait, that big statue of the Virgin Mary? It's an old statue at their family home. A space just for that? And an oratory? I'd prefer a regular room over an oratory. They're hard to maintain. I tried to explain, but she cut me off. A house isn't a home without an oratory. Why does Mother-in-law decide everything about our house even if she's not living with us? When I asked Lonnie, he said, Mom has experience with home renovations, and I've never gone wrong listening to her. But when will we ever take that statue of the Virgin Mary? Maybe after father-in-law and mother-in-law pass away. Can't we get a smaller one? Space in a house is precious, right? I argued, but he shouted back, Are you trying to badmouth my mom? What's your intention? I didn't want a guest room we might never use. At the next meeting, I tried to negotiate with mother-in-law again. I don't think we really need a guest room. But she interrupted. You think that because you're young, you'll need it eventually, and a guest room can also be a place for family to relax. Oh, and make sure there are no steps. Make it barrier-free, and add handrails to the stairs. In the end, the house was built according to mother-in-law's wishes. An oratory, the statue of the Virgin Mary, barrier-free design, stair handrails, and a guest room we might not use for years. I tried to argue until the very last moment, but Lonnie kept saying, Mom knows best. Don't speak ill of her. The fact that I couldn't be more assertive was because the house was being built on father-in-law's land. Of course, not having to pay for the land means lower repayments. But accommodating all of mother-in-law's requests would naturally increase construction costs. I was frustrated about paying extra for a guest room. The architectural designer tried to help by suggesting cost reductions, but mother-in-law would say things like, Money spent joyfully will come back to you. Finally, our new house was completed. Despite everything, the completion of a new house is a joy. The smell of new wallpaper was exhilarating. The scent of a new house is truly wonderful. A few days after moving in, mother-in-law and father-in-law came over with housewarming gifts. Thanks to you, we could buy this wonderful new house, I greeted them. It's true. If we had to buy the land, we probably wouldn't have been approved for a large loan. Father-in-law smiled and said, The smell of a new house is really something. Now you're ready to welcome the baby. There's nothing happier for me as a grandpa. Imagining his unborn grandchild, he smiled warmly. Lonnie proudly showed his parents around the new house, pointing out the guest room and the oratory with a statue of the Virgin Mary. All that was left was to wait for the baby to be born. But then, something unexpected happened. On a Sunday morning, as we were having breakfast, movers showed up at our door. Good morning. We're here to deliver some items. They rang the doorbell, but I had no idea what they were talking about. I went to the entrance and asked, "Are you sure you have the right address?" But sure enough, our address was listed for the delivery. What? As I was trying to figure out what was going on, I heard the ring of a bicycle bell. It was mother-in-law. She parked her bike in front of our house and energetically began directing the movers, "Put this here." What's going on? I was dumbfounded. Suddenly, Lonnie came out and nonchalantly said, "Mom liked the guest room, so they're moving in with us from today." What? Suddenly, movers started bringing in boxes, and then came the announcement that they'd be moving in. I mean, seriously? Seriously? Then my mother-in-law snapped, "Why are you just standing there? You're in the way of the movers." She grabbed my shoulder and shoved me. I wasn't just standing there, I was in shock. If I were my usual self, I would have snapped back. But there was too much to process, and my brain couldn't keep up. Seeing my pale face, mother-in-law seemed to realize something. "We've been considering moving in for a while. At first, I just wanted advice, but then it started to sound like a good idea, so we decided to live here. But what's with that look? If you don't like it, you can leave. This property belongs to my Lonnie. It's our house." I had plans for the guest room. I thought of placing a cradle and baby items there. It was supposed to be the baby's room. But now, it's going to be my in-laws' room, and they're kicking me out? I couldn't accept the situation and stepped outside. I needed to cool down. Even though it was spring, the outside air was still chilly. It was the perfect temperature to cool my flushed cheeks and clear my head. Then a thought struck me. Wait a minute. What about the house they renovated 3 years ago? I headed to my in-laws' place. As I approached, my father-in-law was at the entrance. "Father-in-law," he turned to me and said, "Let's go back to your house." When we returned, the movers were gone, and most of the stuff was inside. "Back so soon? Are you agreeing to live with us? Or did you prepare yourself to be kicked out?" Mother-in-law, sipping tea with Lonnie in the living room, smirked. "If you're leaving, pack your stuff." Father-in-law stepped in front of mother-in-law. "Hey, my wife, let's go home. If you don't like it, you can leave this house and our life." "What?" Mother-in-law dropped her teacup, spilling tea everywhere. "Why? We agreed to live here. Lonnie approved it too." She looked at Lonnie for confirmation. He nodded. "I agreed because Mom wanted it." Lonnie says it's obvious. Father-in-law was furious. "When will you stop blindly following your mother? Grow up!" I had never seen father-in-law so angry. Lonnie was taken aback. "My wife, she's changed," father-in-law said with a shaky voice. "Where did you get that spend money to make money idea?" Mother-in-law was cornered. "What?" I exclaimed, recognizing those words. "I know about that too." Hearing this, father-in-law sighed. "I thought so." He then shared the story. "It was all fun and games when we folded a $10 bill to make it look like $100. But then she started spending recklessly, believing that spending money joyfully means it'll come back to you. She even donated $5,000 worth of charity raffle tickets, saying it was to attract more money. Wait, what? $5,000? She bought raffle tickets and then donated them? As I tried to contain my shock, mother-in-law blurted out, "It's true, because it was on the internet." The internet? I couldn't help but raise my voice even louder than mother-in-law's. "So you're basing everything on the unpredictable nature of internet information?" I tried to piece my words together. I couldn't believe mother-in-law's justification for donating a bulk of lottery tickets to charity was based on something she read online. But she was dead serious. "Just search for money-saving habits or money-attracting charms. You'll see. Here, look." Mother-in-law thrust her phone towards me. I couldn't hold back my laughter. Searching for charms? Why are you laughing? Because it's funny. Honestly, how could anyone not laugh? As mother-in-law continued her rant, turning red in the face, I couldn't stop laughing. Beside her, father-in-law said, "I know, right? If she wasn't my wife, I'd be laughing too." Seeing father-in-law's defeated look, I felt bad and stopped laughing. It's heartbreaking to see your hard-earned money wasted like that. Father-in-law continued, "That's why I wanted to help you while I still had some savings. I feared she'd eventually go after my land." He glanced at mother-in-law. "I didn't want you two to suffer because of her misguided beliefs. I thought it was for the best, especially for our future grandkids." But Lonnie interrupted. "Why are you bad-mouthing Mom? Even you, Dad?" He stepped in front of mother-in-law, defending her. I was furious at Lonnie's attitude. I couldn't believe Lonnie's attitude and the way he spoke. I was done with both Lonnie and his mother. I thought I'd protect my father-in-law. I decided to stand up for my father-in-law. I approached Lonnie. "Your mother's belief that the internet is always right and your idea that whatever Mom says is right are the same. It's sad to see both of you can't discern the truth from misinformation." My father-in-law had always endured his wife's wasteful spending. I was probably the first one to ever stand up for him. "Elaine, thank you," he whispered. "I thought I did enough by letting you build a house on my land, but I was running out of savings because of my wife." She then said, "People and money, they go where the money is," suggesting we move in with Lonnie since he has money. It's beyond just believing everything on the internet. Their way of thinking is just bizarre. They're like hermit crabs moving from one shell to another. But Lonnie and his mother kept saying, "But it's natural to go where the money is, right? If Mom wants to live with us, let her." That's why Lonnie even built an oratory and got a statue of the Virgin Mary. They kept ranting about how Mom is always right and the internet is always right. Their absurdity was so overwhelming that my father and I just exchanged glances. If this was the Lonnie I first started dating, I would have said, yeah, keep saying that, bye, and left him. But now that I knew how my father-in-law felt, I couldn't just walk away. I felt a burning sense of justice. After all, he would be the grandfather of my future child. "First off, you're wrong," I firmly told his mother. "Just because it's on the internet? Why don't you search superstitions or nonsense? I'm not against superstitions, but if you want more money, working is more realistic than donating to a lottery. If you'd spend the time you wasted complaining about the new house working part-time, you'd have earned some dollars by now. And you'd realize the effort it takes to earn that money and how hard my father-in-law worked to earn what you wasted." I then turned my attention to Lonnie. "And you blindly believe everything your mother says, and you don't even realize you're being taken advantage of. I can't trust you to guide our child if they ever lose their way. In short, I want a divorce." "What?" Lonnie was taken aback. In contrast, his mother spat out, "Fine, just leave." But it was my father-in-law who silenced her. "I want a divorce too." She turned to him in shock. "Yeah." Mother-in-law suddenly looked back at father-in-law. However, there is no island that haunts father-in-law. "But I never wanted to live with my son and his wife. I just renovated my house and I plan to stay there. Just like Elaine gave up on Lonnie, I don't have the energy to support you anymore. Marry the internet if you want." He continued, "The house is still in my name. Lonnie, you should leave. Do whatever you want with your mother. The house belongs to Elaine and our upcoming baby. The baby should grow up with someone who can make sound judgments." What? And so, both couples headed for divorce. 6 months later, after the divorce mediation, my father-in-law and I lived in our respective homes, while Lonnie and his mother were kicked out. Mom is always right. Lonnie, who seemed brainwashed into repeating this, was told, "Why not live with mother-in-law as she wishes?" To which he responded, "All right, I will," and began living together in an apartment. Later on, it seems my ex-husband came to visit father-in-law. "Even if I do everything Mom says, I don't make more money. I need a loan." But he was promptly turned away. Father-in-law, now retired and working as a contract employee, still keeps busy. He enjoys attending his chess club and seems to have a lot of fun there. "Now that she's gone, I can save money again." Every now and then, he'd buy toys and visit Gran's, looking very happy. When Gran started laughing and playfully nudging his grandpa's foot, "I've started seeing someone," father-in-law shyly shared. "Turns out she's from his chess club. She's very sharp in her tactics. Seems like she analyzed me well and chose me." "That's great!" Both father-in-law and I beamed with joy.